Okay, so let's take inheritance now. Let's say that we have this person class, right, that has the following attributes. All right, so let's say that this is the person class. Okay, so here in inheritance. Okay, so we have class person that's gonna be having all of these instance variables. Okay, okay, and okay, and you know what? Let me just say that this is classification. I think it would make more sense, as you're gonna see in a minute. And let's say that this is the constructor, which is going to take the name, the department, and the classification. Okay. All right. So this is the person class. All right. And let's say that from that person class, we are planning to create an academic, which is going to have the same exact values, but we are going to add on them a what we call a let's say years of experience. Let's just say years experience for short. This is going to be an integer like that, and this is going to be an academic, which is a subclass, which is a type of a person. And let's say that we are going to have as well a student. Okay. Now the student should have something a little bit different, which is the number of years or years that he years in college, years in campus, or years in college, right? Which is as well, it's an integer. Okay. So this is gonna be inheriting from this guy, and notice that the line here is gonna be a little bit different. Let's just do this like this, and let's take this guy, and the notation for the head here looks like that. Okay, so let's do this inheritance right away. Now we can create a person object, right? And we can as well create an object of the subclass. Let's start with academic. Okay. In order to create inheritance, in order to say that academic inherits all of these things, you need to pass the actual parent into the subclass. So I'm saying that academic is gonna inherit everything that is inside person. Let's just stop there and try to create an object of academic, and let's see. How about we create an object of person first? Like that, right? Yeah, it takes a name. I'm sorry, it takes a name. It takes a department, for example, computing, and it takes a classification, right? So in this manner, if this is an academic, let's say that the classification here is a TA, for example. Okay. Okay. Or you know what? I just think that I should take away this classification thing and put it inside one of them. So let's put inside here. I'm just gonna take this, which is role. I'm just gonna take it and put it in academic as role, like this. And for the student, I'm just gonna put it as year. Okay. Year uh, alias, for example. Like, is he a sophomore, a freshman, a senior, right? So let's just have the parent class have the name and department as well. That's all. That's it. Okay. So let's create that person, and it should take 2 arguments. All right. All right, and that's it. Now let's create an object of the academic, which is the subclass. So let's say academic 1, academic, and this is his name, Muhammad مثلا, computer science. Okay. Just for the sake of clarity, you can check the actual boolean variable. It has a name and it has a department. And let's send to this guy, and that's it. Okay, so academic takes the same initialization. It works, it operates on the same constructor that the parent class actually have. So whenever you create an object of academic, if it implements or if it inherits from person, then it's gonna use the parent that is being passed right there, the parent's constructor or initialization method in order to initialize these variables. So academic has the same name and the same department. Okay, and to make sure that we can just say that academic 1 like that, and you're gonna see that the academic has name and it has department just the same as the one that we have inherited from, which is the parent class. Okay, now how about we add some stuff? What if the academic has years of experience and enrolled, right? So how can we do this? In this case, you would need to override the initialization, the initializer, or I'm sorry, let's call this overload the initializer. Okay, in this case, you're gonna overload, or if you don't understand what is overloading is, we just mean that we are going to overwrite the initializer or the constructor arguments. Okay, so we're gonna redefine the initializer with extra arguments. In this case, we're gonna initialize the constructor or the initializer with 2 additional variables, which is years of experience and role. Okay, so overloading basically means that, just we have said in a minute, that the subclass, which is academic, actually uses that constructor whenever we create an object of the academic. It uses the constructor of the past parent class. Okay, if you want to override that constructor with additional stuff, let's say that now we don't only need name, department, but we as well need the years of experience. We need the role as well. Okay, so now we are overloading. Overloading basically in programming means that we are using the same, or we are redefining the same function but with different parameters. So an example for that would be, if I have something like func1 and func1 take, for example, number 1 and number 2. Okay, overloading func1 would be something like this, or func would be something like this. Calling func but with extra or different arguments, different set of arguments. So this is overloading, right? But overriding is basically changing the internal definition of the function, meaning that I'm calling the same, I'm redefining the same func, okay, the same function. Okay, I'm redefining the same function, but in this version, func has a definition, and the other overridden func has a different definition. Okay, so they have the same name, the same number of arguments, but the definition is different. And this is basically what happens when we say that we are overriding an abstract function. So this is what happens when we say that we have an abstract method that we are trying to override from the parent inside the subclass. And this is what happens inside the polymorphism. I think we're going to discuss then in a lab that we're going to take in the next week, I believe. Okay. So now one thing would be, since academic actually inherits all of these guys, we can just say that or since academic actually inherits person, But in this case, we are overloading the constructor with extra variables. Then we would need to initialize all of these variables again, because now you are initializing academic with extra stuff that is not inside the parent. So you're going to have to do one of two things: either manually reassigning everything again, like making redundant code as you're seeing here for the first two common variables, and the new ones are going to be assigned into self dot years experience and self dot role. It's going to have role like this. And if we run this, now academic takes two more things. Let's say that the years of experience is going to be 10 and the role is going to be a TA. Okay, if we run person, you're going to have person only have name and department. Name and department. But the academic, which is the subclass, has name, department, years of experience, and role. Okay, this is the ugly way of doing things. And basically what you have done there isn't really making use of inheritance at all. In order to use inheritance really successfully or efficiently, we really want to stay away from redundant code. And what I mean by that is that if there are some common things that has been initialized or that can be initialized in the parent constructor, okay, there is no need to do it again. There is no need to do it again in the subclass. Okay, this can be easily done by the following. Let's say once we store the constructor, or once we create an object of academic, like once we create an object of academic, the first single method that's going to be executed is the constructor. So once the constructor starts, there is no need to overwrite or redefine all of these things. We have already done that inside the parent class, which is person. So we can say that super, and super stands actually for the parent class. Okay, super is the actual parent class of that subclass that we are defining. So we're going to say super dot initialize. Okay, and what I'm saying here is that I am calling the parent classes constructor, the parent, which is super, which is person, the parent classes constructor init, which is init, this init function or method. I'm calling the super class constructor, and I'm using it in order to initialize the common things that we are taking in academic, which is basically the name and department. Both of them has name and department, and the parent has name and department inside of it. So I'm just saying, as a subclass, as your the one that is inheriting from you, please, if you have name and if you have department, can you just initialize them using these two lines that you have, so I don't have to rewrite them like that? Okay, so this is what actually super is doing. We are saying we are making use of inheritance by saying that the subclass, if the subclass has any commonalities, then these commonalities can as well be executed and initialized by the super, by the parent, who actually does the initialization for them inside the constructor method, which is here, these two lines. And any other new stuff that we are injecting into academic, the subclass, I'm just going to take care of them underneath of this super call. Okay, so I'm just going to take this and initialize it in years of experience that is inside only the subclass, not inside the parent class. The same thing goes for role. That is going to be inside the self role, which is inside the superclass, the subclass only. Okay, so if I run this, you're not going to notice any difference. Okay, but typically this is the way that you should use inheritance. Okay, notice that if the person method has any methods, all of these methods inside person is going to be inherited by academic method as well. Let's make a student class that inherits from person, and let's do the same thing. Let's initialize that student with the same stuff, but we have here years in college and year alias, college and year alias. Okay, and let's use the parent class to initialize the commonalities, which is department and name, that's being taken care of by this parent constructor. So let's say the supers, which is the person class, an initializer or the constructor is gonna take care for name and department, and any new stuff that is related to student, I'm just gonna take care of it myself by assigning years in college argument inside years in college self or instance variable. The same thing goes for year alias. Okay, let's create an object of student1, and let's say this guy is called Ali, CS, and we have 9 years. Well, no, I'm sorry, years in college. Just say if he's a sophomore, I believe sophomore is 2 years. I'm sorry for any Ali right there watching the video. Sophomore. Okay, so let's create this and let's check the pool of variables inside that student. You're gonna have name, department, years in college, and real areas, where the academic has name and department from the person, but instead he has years of experience and role. Okay,